Welcome. I'm Alice Alicia Jones, and this is another one of my Living Consciously videos. And today I do the last portion of Mary's message to the world. And the portion is on the importance of prayer. And she spends a couple chapters on prayer. And effectively, she brings a definition of prayer that I had absolutely never heard before. And so I'd like to go over that with you. She says that all the chatter in your mind is prayer. You have thoughts that continuously stream through your mind. Every single thought is a prayer. Effectively, you have got to remember we are a little piece of God. We are not our prime creator any more than we are our parents, but we create as our prime creator creates with thought. And effectively, but she calls it prayer. Our thoughts are called prayer. So she says that she asks us to live our life with an attitude of love, with an attitude of hope, with an attitude of peace, of strength, of gentleness, of faith, of abundance, and goodness. These are the attributes of God, the prime creator. And our desire to be closer to God is basically our it's so vital to our need as human beings just to become exactly who we were meant to become, especially in this day and age. These are called the end times, so that there is a clearing of things that maybe we in other lifetimes wanted to ignore, chose to ignore. It's our choice. We do not have to look at anything that we choose not to look at. But this time is different. We are coming to a place where we now are faced with having to effectively cleanse ourselves of negative emotions, hard emotions, rage, hatred, envy, jealousy, and anything that gives us a an inability to send love to our uh, to basically our neighbor, the people that we know, the people around us. And so she makes a huge um, point of saying that those hard emotions, those negative emotions, are what deplete our energy and our life. And she goes on further, though. She says, if you worry incessantly, you also are effectively bringing more things to worry about. I I say it a slightly different way. I say that like attracts like. So when you send out worry, you attract worry. You send out abundance, you attract abundance. And it's amazing how many ways you can feel poor. It's absolutely incredible. And It's amazing how many ways you can feel wealthy. There's so much out there. There is so much abundance in the natural world that is ours totally for free. I recently just convinced my husband to go to some of our local parks. We wore our masks. There were a lot of people there. There were a lot more flowers out than I had expected, but effectively, just know that when you're walking and when you're uh, talking and you're bringing nothing but hard emotions, negative emotions into your sphere, um, pay attention to what shows up for you because I think you're going to be absolutely surprised. And Mary continues on and she says, prayer is nothing more than talking to God, your own words. You don't have to say formal prayers. You don't have to say anything that brings you that even it could be if you have prayers that you liked as a child, that's fine. You can bring those forward, but just talking to God is sufficient because effectively, like I said, you're a little piece of God. You bring about what you think about. And the type of prayers that she talks about, she talks about four types. I'm going to basically talk about a fifth type that I feel is pretty important. The first one that she mentions is prayer of gratitude. I know that when before I go to sleep every night, I have a gratitude journal and I list at least five, somewhere usually between five and 10 things that I'm grateful for the day because of the fact that that is gratitude journal to me is absolutely critical to the way I end my day. And but she says a prayer of gratitude for all that is around you that demonstrates God's richness and God's goodness. And she said that you God replenishes everything for you that you're grateful for. Are you grateful for friendships? Are you grateful for certain conditions? Are you grateful for certain having certain items in your home? And the abundance that is available to us. Even those who have found out that they are running out of funds to pay, it is amazing how many resources there are right now for those people and to get sustenance, to get food. And so many have joined the call. I was even watching, I think, Bon Jovi on Stephen Colbert, and he during this period, since he can't do his um, his his musical venues, he had started a charity for, and I think it's called Feed the World. And he said he's out there hauling tons of food and to give away for that. And again, you just a prayer of gratitude will go so much farther than a prayer of thinking about lack. The next prayer that she talks about is a prayer of admiration. And she says, this is like fertilizer. This again helps grow. You can admire every every single thing that you love. You can admire God's creations. You can admire people. You can admire nature. You can admire the talent that is out there. And I know in admiring nature, there were a couple scenes that came in for me that I I can remember one time. I think we were in. I'm pretty sure it was Yosemite. Uh, it could have been Yellowstone, but I think it was Yosemite. And we went to one of the farthest reaches of Yosemite. We went out to just one of the farthest places that it was available. And as we got out of the car, I the way the terrain was, it showed up in like 5 levels, but it looked like we could see for hundreds of miles. It just went on and on and on. It was so beautiful that I started crying. I couldn't believe the exquisiteness of that scene. And another time when we first went to the Grand Canyon, we had friends who insisted that we go to the North Rim before we went to the South Rim. Because they said, if you go to the South Rim, you won't go to the North Rim because you'll say, I've seen it. And they say, but the North Rim is different. The only thing is, you have to go around the Grand Canyon 200 miles to get to the North Rim. And in the route that we were taking. So we did go to the North Rim, and I can remember getting out of the car, looking at this, and realizing that I was looking at strata of Earth that was hundreds of millions of years old, probably billions of years old. And that seemed like an incredible gift. And the North Rim is deeper than the South Rim. But at the South Rim, when we came back and did the South Rim, I was rewarded with a very, very special scene. We went to this, we would go to every single lookout along the entire South Rim. We were at the second to the last lookout, and there was a pillar that was just standing in the middle of the view, and there was a rainbow that ended right on top of that pillar. I was in such awe that I forgot to take a picture, but that picture is so embedded in my mind that I will absolutely never forget it. And it just, I mean, it was just amazing. And the second time we ended up at the Grand Canyon through a Road Scholar trip, there was uh, we just happened to come when the sun was setting, and every single thing that we looked at was gold and red, but it was vibrant as anything I've ever seen. So again, admiring nature. You can't take trips now, but you can take a flower. And I know when I pulled apart a daisy, when I got to the center and decided, geez, I want to see what's underneath the center of the flower, because every single center had something that felt a little fuzzy. So I started to take that apart, and I saw at the bottom of the daisy these hexagons, a whole layer of hexagons. And then I thought, well, let me see what's under the hexagons. Took those off, another layer of hexagons. Turned the daisy over, and there was a swirl of of the way the back of the daisy swirled around. It kind of reminded me of the swirl that you might see in a baby's hair, when they have when you can look and see because they don't have enough hair to cover it. So that was so neat. But anyway, those are her recommendations for prayers of admiration. Then her next one is to have prayers of joy. And she says, joy is having joy in your spirit is being at one with God. And you are truly connected with God's flow when you have joy in your life. And so she said that lightheartedness and humor uh, eliminates sadness. And right now, there is so much need for that. She talks about prayers for courage, prayers for strength, prayers for peace, and prayers for energy. And I feel in every respect, these were, again, so needed at this point in our life. But the last one that I wanted to touch upon was the one that Greg Braden um, brought to the planet, and it's called the lost mode of prayer. And what he says is that he talks about praying for something as if it were already an accomplished fact, a fait accompli. And she talked about a friend of his who was a Native American, and there had been tremendous drought. Um, I know there are parts of California that have experienced a drought for about 7 years. So this was somewhere out west. And uh, the Native American stood on top of a mesa and prayed for rain, but as an accomplished fact, prayed with gratitude for the rain that was already there. And the amazing thing was that what happened was that they, a very small portion of where they were standing, received rain, a deluge of rain, but nowhere else. And interestingly enough, when we were at the Grand Canyon, we saw that, we witnessed that. We would see rain clouds off in the distance and the rain coming down in a very, very um, tight locale. And I know myself, um, when I'm working in Alexandria, I will sometimes experience a deluge, call my husband in Fairfax Station. He goes, "No, it's dry. There's no rain." So effectively, the rain can come very, very selectively. And if you are in desperate need of rain, that is one thing that you can absolutely do. Pray and with gratitude for something that is an accomplished fact. And frankly, for whatever it is that you need to appear in your life, you can do that. So I thank you for being here. I am so grateful to have you as part of the people that I talk to, and we'll see you next week, Friday. Thank you. Welcome. I'm Alice Alicia Jones,